I've always thought my birthday was special. This year, I was turning 38. Not a milestone, but enough of an excuse for a party. The morning started as usual. Mark kissed me on the cheek, mumbled, "Happy birthday, honey," and rushed off to the hospital earlier than normal. Oddly, he didn't even stay for breakfast. Something about his behavior had been bothering me for weeks. My husband, a brilliant heart surgeon, had always been a bit absent-minded, but lately he'd become suspicious. Secret phone calls, unexpected emergency surgeries on weekends, and this new habit of locking his phone. It's just stress, I reassured myself, arranging the flowers that had been delivered early that morning. Stepping outside to check on the party preparations, I noticed Mark had forgotten to close the trunk of his Lexus. My gut told me not to look, but I couldn't help myself. In the corner of the trunk was a bag from a children's store. Inside, a plush teddy bear and a doll in a pink dress. What the hell? My heart tightened. We didn't have children. It was a sore subject in our marriage. After several failed IVF attempts, we just stopped trying. When Mark returned for lunch, another oddity, he rarely came home midday, I casually asked about the toys. "Oh, that. Gift for Jeff's daughter from the hospital? It's her birthday," he answered too quickly, avoiding eye contact. Jeff? What Jeff? In 6 years of dinner parties with colleagues, I'd never heard that name. But today was my birthday. 30 guests would arrive in a few hours. Not the time for a confrontation. If only I'd known what would happen that evening when the doorbell rang. The party was a hit. Our backyard glowed with string lights, servers circulated with champagne, and the chef I'd hired specially for the evening was working magic at the grill. Mark seemed to have forgotten his morning nervousness and was playing the perfect host, charming my girlfriends and talking golf with colleagues. What a beautiful couple, I overheard someone whisper behind me. I smiled. Yes, this is what the perfect life looks like. Successful surgeon husband, luxurious home in Atlanta's best neighborhood, circle of influential friends. The American dream, my mother calls it. Mark raised his glass. "To my beautiful wife. Carolyn, you've been the light of my life for 10 years. The guests applauded. I caught his gaze across the yard. There was something strange in it. Almost guilty. And then it happened. First, I heard a child's voice, shrill, excited, coming from the gate. Then a woman's, trying to quiet the child. "Ma'am, you cannot enter without an invitation." The security guard was trying to block her way. "Call Mark. He knows who I am," the woman's voice insisted. "Mark. Not Dr. Stewart. Just Mark." Conversations died down. Everyone turned toward the gates, where a young woman stood with 2 children. She was pretty, with chestnut hair pulled into a messy bun and tired eyes. A boy about 5 held her hand, while a little girl sat in her arms. "Daddy!" the boy shouted, spotting Mark. "Daddy said we could come to the party?" Mark's face turned chalk white. He stepped forward, then back, as if he couldn't decide whether to run toward them or away from them. "Lisa," he said barely audibly, "what are you doing here?" "You haven't answered your phone for 3 days," she replied. "Jacob's been missing you. And you promised to come to his kindergarten rehearsal." 30 pairs of eyes darted between Mark and me and back again. "Carolyn," Mark began, taking a step toward me. "I can explain." But there was nothing to explain. This blue-eyed boy with Mark's eyes was calling my husband Daddy. And the way this woman looked at him, with anger, disappointment, and love. A server passed by with a tray of champagne. I grabbed a glass and downed it in one gulp. Time seemed to stop. I watched as Mark rushed toward the woman and children, trying to hustle them toward the exit. "Lisa, please, not now," his voice was pleading. "Let's talk somewhere else." But the woman, Lisa, stood firm, her head held high. The little girl in her arms started whimpering, sensing the tension. "No more, Mark. Enough lies." She stepped forward, right under the string lights. "I've put up with your excuses for years. All those emergency surgeries and conferences. I thought you were just a workaholic." My best friend Jennifer came to my side and squeezed my hand. "Carolyn, are you okay?" I didn't answer. Couldn't. "Who are these people, Mark?" My voice sounded surprisingly calm. Mark opened his mouth, but Lisa beat him to it. "I'm Mark's wife," her voice carried across the now silent garden. "And these are his children." At first, I thought I'd misheard. Wife, My husband couldn't have another wife. This was some mistake, a prank, a nightmare. We've been married for 6 years, Lisa continued, while Mark helplessly looked from her to me. We met at Greenville Memorial Hospital when he was working there on contract. 6 years. Right when Mark got promoted and started traveling for work more often. The boy, Jacob, broke free from his mother's grip and ran to Mark, hugging his legs. "Daddy, will you show me the pool? You promised." His innocent voice was shattering what remained of my world. "Is your pool here cooler than the one at our house?" Jacob asked, looking back at me. "Daddy said he has a big house for work." My guests started whispering. Someone awkwardly cleared their throat. My mother looked like she might faint. "Mark, is this true?" I knew the answer, but I needed to hear it from him. His shoulders slumped. He looked smaller, like a deflated balloon. "Carolyn, I didn't want you to find out like this," he stumbled. "It's complicated. I was going to tell you." "When, Mark?" Steel rang in my voice. "In another 6 years? Or 10? Or when another kid is born?" The little girl in Lisa's arms reached toward Mark. "Papa," she said in her baby voice. And that's when I noticed the cake. My birthday cake with 38 candles, waiting for its moment. And next to it, a large silver knife. A strange calm washed over me. Like I was watching everything from outside myself. A viewer of some trashy soap opera. 10 years of marriage, all our plans, dreams, promises, all of it was a lie. I slowly moved toward the table with the cake. Guests parted before me like the Red Sea. In their eyes, I could read a mixture of shock, pity, and, I won't kid myself, excitement at the first-class drama unfolding before them. The silver cake knife lay on the pristine white tablecloth. I picked it up, feeling its pleasant weight. From the corner of my eye, I noticed Mark tensing up, Lisa flinching as she clutched her daughter. "She's gonna stab him," I heard someone's frightened whisper. I turned to face the guests, knife in hand. The smile on my face must have looked eerie. "Dear friends," my voice sounded unnaturally steady. "It seems today we're celebrating not just my birthday, but also a family reunion." I approached the cake, a 3-tiered masterpiece I'd spent 2 weeks planning with the pastry chef. "Since it's my birthday, let me make a wish," I said, raising the knife. Everyone held their breath as the silver blade hovered over the cake. 1 second, 2. And I neatly cut it into perfectly even pieces. "First slice for our guest." I placed the cake on a plate and walked over to Lisa. Our eyes met. She looked confused but accepted the plate. "The kids need cake too," I continued, cutting 2 small pieces for Jacob and little Sophia. Jacob enthusiastically dug into the sweet treat, oblivious to the tension around him. "Thanks, miss," he mumbled with his mouth full. "And now for Mark." I handed a plate to my husband. His hand was shaking as he took it. "Enjoy, darling." "You've earned it." I turned to Lisa with an icy smile. "Welcome to the family. Looks like we have a lot in common." My mother finally recovered and tried to intervene. "Carolyn, maybe we should—" "What, Mom? End this spectacle? Throw these people out? Have a meltdown?" I shook my head. "No, today we all learned the truth. And you know what? I'm glad." That was a lie. Inside, I was screaming in pain, but I wouldn't give Mark the satisfaction of seeing me broken. "Mark," I turned to my husband, still holding the knife, "why don't you show Jacob the pool?" "You did promise." Pale-faced Mark looked at me as if I had actually plunged that knife into his heart. Maybe I had. Private investigator Jack Riley's office didn't match my expectations shaped by noir films. No cigarette smoke, no blinds, no whiskey bottle in the desk drawer. Instead, a modern co-working space, MacBook, and green smoothie. "Mrs. Stewart," Riley leaned back in his chair. Honestly, in 15 years of practice, I've never encountered a case quite like this. Just 24 hours had passed since my unforgettable birthday. The party ended predictably. Guests quickly dispersed, mumbling awkward goodbyes. Mark left with Lisa and the kids to talk. He hadn't come home. "This isn't about surveillance," I explained. "I need information. How did my husband manage to marry twice? Where did he meet this woman? Where did the money for a second family come from?" Riley opened his laptop. "Let's start with a timeline. When did you notice changes in your husband's behavior?" I thought about it. 6 years ago. Mark got an offer for a contract at Greenville Memorial Hospital. He'd go there for several days each week. Greenville. Riley quickly typed something. That's a 2-hour drive from here. Far enough to live a double life, I noted bitterly. By evening, we had a preliminary picture. Mark had indeed worked in Greenville on contract. There, he met Lisa Morgan, a cardiac unit nurse. A year later, they got married. How is this even possible? I stared at the copy of the marriage certificate. He was already married to me. This is the interesting part. Riley turned his laptop toward me. Look, he provided fake divorce documents. According to them, you and Mark divorced 3 months before his wedding to Lisa. What? That's absurd. We never divorced. Exactly. The documents are fake, but quite professional. Lisa undoubtedly believed you were Mark's ex-wife. I remembered last night, Lisa's facial expression. She was just as shocked as I was. What about finances? I asked. Our house is worth $2 million. Cars, trips, my jewelry. How did he support a second family? Riley sighed. Your husband makes about $800,000 a year, right? Plus bonuses, investments, enough to support 2 families if you manage finances carefully. I leaned back in my chair. How could someone I trusted completely, shared a bed with for 10 years, lead such a double life? How did he remember which lies he told to whom? Which birthdays he celebrated with which family? There's something else. Riley frowned. I checked social media. There are several photos where Mark is tagged with a woman named Rachel Dawson from Miami. I felt the room start to spin. A third woman? Possibly, Riley answered cautiously. We need to dig deeper. I took out my checkbook. Dig. I want to know everything. The Bluebird Cafe in downtown Atlanta seemed like an appropriate meeting spot. Neutral territory, crowded enough to keep potential emotional outbursts. In check. I chose a corner table and ordered a double espresso, trying to cope with my sleepless night. Lisa arrived at 11 sharp without the kids. She looked exhausted, shadows under her eyes, hair hastily pulled into a ponytail. For a second, I felt a pang of sympathy. Thanks for agreeing to meet, she said, sitting down across from me. After that night, I didn't know what to do. You and me both, I managed a weak smile. Not every day you find out your husband's a bigamist. The waitress brought menus. Lisa ordered just water. The kids are with my sister, she explained, as if reading my unspoken question. Jacob keeps asking why we're not living in our house anymore. How do you explain to a 5-year-old that his father is a liar and a criminal? How did you two meet? I asked, getting to the point. Lisa took a sip of water. At the hospital. I was a cardiac unit nurse. He was a visiting surgeon. Everyone was crazy about him. 2 months later, we started dating. And he said he was divorced? Yes. He told me he'd been married to a woman named Carolyn, but the marriage fell apart because of... She faltered. Because of what? My voice was tense. Because of your infertility, Lisa said, almost in a whisper. He said you couldn't have children and it destroyed your marriage. A blow below the belt. After 3 failed IVF attempts, Mark and I decided to take a break. It was a difficult period, but we got through it. At least, I thought we did. He showed me divorce papers, Lisa continued. I never even considered they might be fake. When did you get married? 5 years and 8 months ago. Small ceremony in Greenville. A year later, Jacob was born, then Sophia. I took out my phone and showed her a photo from Mark's and my trip to Italy 5 years ago. In the picture, we were kissing in front of the Colosseum. During this time, he was married to both of us, I said. Lisa stared at the photo for a long time, then pulled a folder from her bag and handed it to me. Marriage certificate, children's birth certificates. Mark is listed as the father. Vacation photos from last year. He said he was going to a medical conference in San Diego. I looked through the documents, and with each page, my numbness turned to anger. Mark was smiling on a beach, holding little Sophia, while texting me about intense discussions with colleagues and boring presentations. Our house in Greenville is in his name, Lisa continued. The car, too. He completely controlled the finances, gave me money for expenses. I thought it was caring. Control, I corrected. Makes it easier to hide a double life. We looked at each other, two women deceived by the same man. What now? Lisa asked. I took a deep breath. Now we team up against him. You know, I never thought I'd be drinking wine with my husband's mistress, I said, filling our glasses. Technically, I'm his wife. Though the marriage is obviously invalid, Lisa gave a faint smile. And I'd prefer the term fellow victim. We were set up in my home office. The table was covered with documents, bank statements, photos, email printouts, everything we'd managed to collect over the week with Jack Riley's help. So, what we've got, I pointed to a map with marked locations. Atlanta, me, Greenville, you, and Miami, Rachel, Lisa finished. I can't believe it. A third woman. Detective Riley had confirmed our suspicions. Rachel Dawson, 34, administrator at a plastic surgery clinic in Miami. Mark regularly visited there, supposedly consulting colleagues on complex cases. According to his credit card statements, he bought jewelry in Miami, paid for restaurants, hotels. I flipped through the documents, but they're not married. Yet? How did he manage it all? Lisa shook her head. Complex surgeries, flights between 3 cities, 2 families. My husband was always a time management champion. I smirked bitterly. Now I understand why he insisted on handling finances himself. We discovered secret accounts set up through shell companies, complex money transfer schemes between them. The house in Greenville was purchased through a fake investment firm. Mark had thought of everything. And here's the kicker. I pointed to insurance document printouts. He got medical insurance for the kids through the hospital using some loophole. That's major fraud. So not just bigamy. Lisa looked stunned. Insurance fraud, document forgery, financial schemes. And that's just what we could find. I leaned back in my chair. Want to know the most ironic part? Everyone thinks Mark is a lifesaver, a model doctor, twice won Doctor of the Year. At that moment, Lisa's phone rang. She looked at the screen and exhaled. It's him. Again. Since the revelation, Mark had been calling us both, begging to talk. We'd been ignoring his attempts. Think he knows we're in touch? Lisa asked. I doubt it. Mark sees us as rivals. It would never occur to him that we might join forces. That was his major mistake. He played us like chess pieces, never suspecting that pawns could rise against the king. What about Rachel? Lisa asked. Should we warn her? Definitely. I nodded firmly. But first, we'll deliver a blow Mark won't recover from. Medical board. Lisa understood my plan. Exactly. Dear Dr. Stewart will lose his license, career, and reputation. And then prison, Lisa finished, raising her glass. To us, the deceived wives. To justice, I replied, clinking glasses with her. Elizabeth's hospital always gave me mixed feelings. Here, Mark saved lives. From here, he called me during emergency surgeries, when he was actually heading to his second family. Mrs. Stewart, Miss Morgan, Dr. Henderson is ready to see you. The secretary showed us into the medical board chairman's office. Doctor. Henderson, a gray-haired man with tired eyes, looked puzzled. Ladies, your request for an urgent meeting sounded concerning. How can I help? I opened the folder of documents. Dr. Henderson, we're here to file an official complaint against Dr. Mark Stewart on several counts. Mark? He looked shocked. He's one of our best surgeons. He's also a bigamist, a fraud, and a liar, I said firmly, laying out the marriage certificates. I'm his lawful wife. And this is Lisa, whom he married 6 years ago using fake divorce papers. Dr. Henderson's eyebrows shot up. He carefully examined the documents, then looked at us. These are serious accusations, but with all due respect, this is a personal matter, not a professional violation. What about insurance fraud? Lisa produced copies of insurance policies. Doctor. Stewart illegally obtained medical insurance for our children through the hospital employee program, concealing our true family status. Henderson's face changed. He understood the seriousness of the charges. Furthermore, I continued, we have reason to believe he used hospital resources to maintain his double life. Falsified duty schedules, claimed non-existent emergencies. An hour later, we left the office confident that the wheels of justice had started turning. Doctor, Henderson, shocked by the evidence, initiated an official investigation. The very next day, Mark was temporarily suspended. Within a week, the story leaked into medical circles. His colleagues, once admiring brilliant Dr. Stewart, now avoided his gaze. When the medical board delivered the verdict to revoke his license, it was just the first domino in a chain of falls. "This is just the beginning," I told Lisa as we left the courthouse after another hearing. "Now for the criminal case." "All rise, court is in session." I straightened up on the witness stand. The courtroom was packed. Journalists, rubberneckers, my friends, Lisa's family. The story of the bigamist doctor had become a sensation. "Mrs. Stewart, please tell the court when you learned about your husband's second family." The prosecutor, a middle-aged woman with a penetrating gaze, stood before me. "On my 38th birthday. His second wife and children came to the party." I told everything. Mark's strange behavior, the toys in the trunk, the moment when the truth was revealed. The court listened, breathless. After me, Lisa testified, then insurance agents confirmed the fraud. Jack Riley presented evidence of document forgery. Mark sat at the defense table, aged 10 years. His lawyer tried to portray him as a victim of emotional instability, but the evidence was irrefutable. Jacob and Sophia weren't in the courtroom. Lisa was protecting them from this trauma, but the damage was already done. A psychologist testified about Jacob's withdrawal, his nightmares. "The defendant, please rise." Judge Ramirez looked stern. "This court finds you guilty on all counts. You not only violated bigamy laws, but committed fraud, forged documents, and deceived medical and financial institutions. 5 years in prison. Medical license revoked permanently. Fines. Both marriages declared null and void." Leaving the courtroom, I caught Mark's eye. There was no remorse in his gaze, only self-pity. "You're not a victim, Mark," I said quietly. "You're the perpetrator. No victory will bring back lost years, but justice is the first step toward healing." My new home looks nothing like the previous mansion. Small, cozy, all mine, photos with Mark long removed, his things donated to charity. The consulting firm I started is thriving. Clients value my financial expertise. Today, I'm 39. No lavish party, just close friends, a home-cooked dinner, and a modest cake. The doorbell rings. On the threshold, Lisa with Jacob and Sophia. The children have grown this past year. Lisa returned to her maiden name, got a job as head nurse at a new clinic. "Happy birthday." She hands me a bouquet. Surprisingly, we keep in touch. United by shared trauma, we found understanding we never expected. Over dinner, I raise my glass to surviving betrayal and finding strength we never knew we had. Lisa smiles. Jacob, no longer calling Mark daddy, laughs at my nephew's joke. Sometimes betrayal isn't the end. Sometimes it's the beginning of a new, authentic life.